Hi and welcome back to the channel. I thought I'd stop doom scrolling and actually get out a video. I've been doom scrolling a bit, but having said that, I also have a whole bunch of DVDs and Blu-rays that I've acquired over the last month and that I haven't yet watched, but I'm looking forward to watching. And there are a few of them. I had a little bit of a windfall, so I splurged a bit and picked up some really interesting films. I'm breaking them down into different categories to make it a little bit simpler. But I thought I'd share what I've got and let me know which ones you want me to review, because I'd be really interested to see which particular movies of these ones I'm going to do that you'd really like. Now, the other thing is I'm going to show you a magic trick at the end of the video, which kind of demonstrates why physical media is important. So stick around for that one. Let's get started. First one, I'm going to do a couple of French films because I'm a Francophile. I like French music, I like French food, I like French films. I loved going to Paris on the one chance that I got to go there, and it's ever since then it's only intensified. So I thought I'd get a couple of classic French films that I haven't seen yet and that I am looking forward to seeing. And I will start with a classic by Alain Resnais. It is from the late 1950s and it is, Hiroshima Mon Amour, which is a movie about a French actress who falls in love with a Japanese man. That's about all I know about it. I know it is a classic of French cinema and I'm looking forward to it as well. I think that's intensified by the fact that not only am I a Francophile, but I also have been to Hiroshima. So I'm looking forward to that one, and I think it's going to be a really interesting watch. So that's number one. Number two is from even earlier, late 1930s, I think. It stars Jean Gabin and Erich von Stroheim, and it is La Grande Illusion. Now, I'm having trouble with the lights there, sorry about that. But looking forward to that. I really like Jean Gabin as an actor. Erich von Stroheim, of course, great actor and director of films. Was in Sunset Boulevard as the chauffeur for Norma Desmond, played by Gloria Swanson. And this one I'm looking forward to seeing as well. I really want to kind of fill the gaps in my knowledge of French cinema, and this one's definitely going to be a part of that. Move on to European films now with start out with a Eurospy movie. I've done a video about Eurospy. I'll link to it at the end of the video. And it's done very well. So I thought I'd fill a gap in the Eurospy library I have with a movie put out by Network in the UK, but I picked it up fairly cheaply from zavi.com.au, and it is Maroc 7, starring Gene Barry as the usual kind of adventurer guy. It's also got Leslie Phillips in it, let's see, Denholm Elliott, Sid Charisse, and I'm kind of looking forward to this one. I haven't seen it for a number of years. I know I did see it on DVD, on VHS back in the day, but this one's got all of the Eurospy hallmarks, exotic locations, an American protagonist, beautiful women, all the things you need in this kind of movie. It also stars Elsa Martinelli, who is lovely. Yes, I'm looking forward to Maroc 7, and one about which I know very little. It stars Lisa Gastoni and Robert Hoffman, and it's Wake Up and Kill. Now that's a great title. I will watch a movie based on a title like that. Again, it's a Euro kind of crime, Euro spy kind of movie. Again, I don't know too much about it, and I got it again from Zavi. This is the British release of it from, let's see, Arrow. It's actually an Arrow British release, so I'm looking forward to seeing that one as well when I'm in the mood for that kind of crime movie. Next up is a classic of British crime cinema, put out by Arrow. I've been waiting for a decent copy of this one to come out for a fair while, and I'm going to revisit it, and it is The Long Good Friday, starring Bob Hoskins, Helen Mirren, and Eddie Constantine. Really looking forward to this. If you haven't seen The Long Good Friday, it is a classic, really great. Bob Hoskins plays a British crime lord called Harold Shan, and he comes up against something he can't quite manage on Good Friday when he's trying to cut a big deal to legitimize himself and his organization. You should definitely see this one. It is great. Next up, I like movies that have got the same name as other movies, especially if they came out before it. I kind of don't like the second movie that comes out with a particular movie's name, because I think do a bit of a Google search and pick an original name. Don't keep copying names again and again. And this one, again, I don't know too much about. It's a British black and white film from the 1960s, starring Lawrence Harvey, Lee Remick and Alan Bates. The Running Man, the original and hopefully the best. It's about a guy who fakes his own death and then goes and lives in Europe, and things catch up with him. That's about all I know about it. Screenplay is by John Mortimer, who made Ron Polar the Bailey. Carol Reed produced it and directed it, so it may be one of the last movies Carol Reed did. And so I'm looking forward to seeing that one. I didn't know anything about this before I saw it on a listing on Zavi, and I'm going to check this one out. The next one's an alternate universe movie, which was done on zero budget almost, or a very low budget. It was made over a number of years by some very young filmmakers in the UK, and it's become a cult classic for that reason. And It Happened Here, which is about England that the Nazis took over, and they filmed it on the streets of London without getting permission or anything like that. I think over about a 10-year period. The guys started out as teenagers when they started making the film, and just moved on from there, picking up film stock and sets and costumes and actors where they could over that period of time. I've seen this once a long time ago, but I'm looking forward to seeing it again because I think it really is a labour of love that came good for the filmmakers. From there, I'm moving on to Asian cinema, because another one of my loves, of course, is Asian cinema. And this one, I don't know too much about, apart from the fact that it's a samurai movie, and it's a classic. It's by Eureka's Masters of Cinema series, and it is Harakiri, which, again, like I said, I don't know much about, but I'm looking for Japanese classic cinema that doesn't just have Toshiro Mifune and isn't just made by Akira Kurosawa. And so I managed to pick up Harakiri quite cheaply. I think I got it on a buy two get one free deal, and at that rate it's well worth checking out. This one's directed by Masaki Kobayashi, and it's from 1962. Looking forward to that. I know that a few friends of mine have seen it and enjoyed it, and so it's definitely one that I'm going to check out very soon. Next up is another one that I don't know anything about, apart from the fact that it's a Shaw Brothers one. This one's actually a South Korean movie made by a director who was kidnapped by North Korea soon after the film came out. Don't know much about it, but I thought I'd give it a go, and also because of that history for the filmmaker, and because of the filmmaker's history, I thought I'd check it out and just see how it is. And it is The Ghost Lovers, which was made by the Shaw Brothers, I believe, even though it is by a South Korean director. Don't know too much about it, but I think that it's worth checking out. This again is a British pressing that I picked up from Zavi, and I'm looking forward to that one as well. After all of the Halloween and horror stuff that I've been doing lately, I think I may want to go in a different direction, and a movie like The Ghost Lovers is definitely what I'm going to try. Now, having said that I'm going off horror, I did pick up the Vengeance trilogy by Park Chan-wook, which includes Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, Old Boy, and Lady Vengeance. Now, if you haven't seen these ones, you may have seen Old Boy. Ignore the one with Josh Brolin that the Americans made, because it's nowhere near as good. The originals are the best, and Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, Old Boy, and Lady Vengeance you should definitely check out. It's a nice little box set from Arrow again, and quite thick, and you really need this one. It's fairly cheap at the moment if you look around, and I recommend that you get it if you're at all a fan of Asian cinema, or even good cinema in general. You want to fill out your collection of Park Chan-wook's movies. They are the best. Now, having said that, I've got another one which is very much different in tone from his other films for which we know him quite well, like The Host and Parasite and Old Boy. Now, this one is a little bit, it says, whimsical loveliness, inventive magic, and it is I'm a Cyborg. Now, again, I'm coming in this one pretty cold. I don't know much about it, but I'm willing to give it a go, just on the strength of it being a Park Chan-wook movie. And so I'm probably going to watch this one next of the films I'm watching. I've got one I've got to watch for a podcast I'm doing, and after that I'm going to watch I'm a Cyborg. So yeah, I think I need something light after the dramas of this particular week. Then I've got another one which I think may well be a Shaw Brothers movie. Yes, it is. and it's from the 1960s, early 1970s, released in 1972. It's directed by Meng Hua Ho, and it's an oddball supernatural comedy. And again, it's the kind of thing I'm going to need after the dramas of watching a month of horror movies and also certain events in the world over the last period of time. And it is Human Goddess. Now, again, don't know too much about it, but I want to kind of expand my horizons there and get a bit of fun Hong Kong cinema. I like the cover. It's very much of its time, but yeah, I think something lighter is called for, and this is definitely one of the ones that is somewhat lighter. Then again, we're going back to horror movies for some reason. And it's another classic of Japanese cinema about which I know very little and about which I intend to know a lot more. And it's Kuroneko. From the early 1960s, I think there's dual format there, so I've got a Blu-ray and a DVD version of this in case one of them conks out, I've got the other. Kind of like that format where you get both of them. The Blu-rays tend to have a lot more information on them, but I do like these ones that the Brits do a lot. This one's Eureka again. And another Japanese horror movie. And the Japanese classic horror films are very much different than the European or American ones, but they have their own level of extreme creepiness, which will keep me entertained when I watch it. Next up, the three films by a director I like a lot and whose films I have seen, Seijun Suzuki. Don't know anything about this trilogy, which is later in his career in the 1970s, and the movies he's known for, like Tokyo Drifter, are from the 1960s, and this one's called the Taisho trilogy. Again, it's another one I picked up from Zavi quite cheaply. The transfers are all new for all three films. The films themselves are, I'll read it off there, long German name is the first one, Kageraza and Yumeji. So don't know anything about them. I don't think they're going to be very much in the same genre as the previous ones I've seen, but definitely want to check out the Taisho trilogy by Seijun Suzuki. By the way, if you haven't had a chance to check out Seijun Suzuki's movies, I think a couple of them may be on Tubi.com, but they are worthwhile and really stylishly wonderful, very cool. And I think I'll rewatch Tokyo Drifter as well. And then we get on to a couple of movies by one by Tony Patterson and one by John D. Lamond. They're Australian movies, they're exploitation movies. They're also Australian erotica movies, and they are Felicity and Centre Spread, which are on a double disc. Felicity was John Lamond's attempt to do an Australian version of Emmanuel, which is kind of fun and kind of creepy at the same time. He does film it in Asia, in Hong Kong specifically. Centre Spread I don't know too much about, but I will check it out because I want to be a bit of a completist with my love of Australian exploitation films. Battery problem solved. Now, this one I got from Warner Archive. It cost me a little bit, but I thought I'd pick it up. A couple of pilots that were done by Gene Roddenberry in the 1970s to give him a new franchise apart from Star Trek. But they both kind of got the same lead character name and roughly the same plot, but they're very much stylistically a little bit different. They are Planet Earth and Earth 2, one starring Alex Cord, one starring John Saxon, from the 1970s. Very much in tune with Gene Roddenberry's obsessions with sex and sexuality and alternate human cultures. They're okay, they're not bad, not shabby in any way, but they definitely are of their time. And again, Gene Roddenberry trying to do something a bit different, but within the science fiction genre, to pick up a new franchise, which did not develop. But I'm glad that Warner have put them out. I think they're worth keeping and they're worth being a part of your library if you're into science fiction television in particular. And you should definitely check out Planet Earth and Genesis 2. I misnamed them earlier, I apologize for that. But yes, I've got those. Then I've got a couple of Billy Wilder movies that I picked up, and they're kind of rarer Billy Wilder movies. Everybody knows who Billy Wilder is. Did Sunset Boulevard, did a whole bunch of other films. Started out at Ufa in Germany in the 1920s, So I actually started out as a journalist in, I think, Munich or Berlin in the early 1920s, and kind of documented a lot of the excesses of the Weimar Republic. This one's towards the end of his career. Maybe, I think it may be his second last film, and it's based on a novella by Tom Tryon, the actor turned writer, and it is Fedora. Now, this one is a weird film. It's got William Holden in it. It's kind of a little bit like Laura in some ways. It's also a little bit like a few other movies. It's very scathing of Hollywood and Hollywood's obsession with youth, beauty and celebrity. But it is kind of interesting, and because it's Billy Wilder, that kind of archly cynical approach to fame and celebrity is definitely there. It's not his best work in any way, but it is important because it is one of his later works that people just haven't had much access to, and I'm glad I got a copy of it. It's a movie about movie making, and that's always something that I'm really fond of watching, and this one is one that I'm going to suck up at some stage in the near future. I've got a lot of stuff to watch, haven't I? The other one I got, which is one that I haven't seen all the way through yet. I've seen the start of it, but I haven't seen it all the way through. It's Billy Wilder taking the piss out of the Cold War. It's set in Germany. It's set in Berlin, actually, and it's got to do with Russian-American relations, capitalism and communism, and it takes the piss out of all of them. It's probably one of the last great movies that James Cagney made, and it's 1, 2, 3, which is ridiculous in some ways. The comedy in it goes from slapstick to fast-paced verbal comedy. There's a lot of good stuff in here, and Billy Wilder doesn't hold back in kind of outlining the absurdities of both capitalism and communism, and the fact that there's a war between them. It's not really a political film in spite of that. It's more a satire, and I'm looking forward to enjoying this one. The supporting cast is pretty good. Horst Buchholz is in there, Arlene Francis, Pamela Tiffin, Howard St. John. The music's by Andre Previn, which is kind of cool. So I'm looking forward to this one. The screenplay is by Billy Wilder and his old compatriot and collaborator IAL Diamond. Yeah, I'm looking forward to 1, 2, 3. Then I got a box set of movies I picked up for like $30 from JB Hi-Fi, mostly because I wanted one of the 4 films in it. It's called the Carol Baker Collection, and it's got But Not For Me from 1959, The Carpetbaggers from 1965, and Harlow, the biopic about Jean Harlow, the early 30s movie actress who died early. And the movie I got it for is actually Sylvia with George Maharis, which is a much better film than I think it was ever given credit for. It was made fairly low budget in black and white, but the thing I like about it is it's a redemption story about a woman who has a very hard early life, and it's one of the first movies in Hollywood cinema, at least, that doesn't shame sex workers. And that's a kind of really forward-looking. I can't recall offhand, but I know that the supporting cast is really good. But I got that basically for one film. I've also got the Carpetbaggers on Blu-ray, and I've doubled up on that for some reason. But it happens sometimes. You ever notice that? You buy a movie because you like it, and then suddenly a box set comes out, and there are other movies on the box set you want, but that movie's on there as well, and then you've got to go, okay, yeah, I've got 2 copies of that movie. You've just got to accept it at a certain level and just run with it. So that's it, almost down to the last 2 films. Well, I'm down to the last 2 films. I'm not almost down to them, I'm down to them. Classic film from the late 1950s with a rare dramatic performance by Gene Kelly. And it is Spencer Tracy and Frederick March in Inherit the Wind, a documentation of the Scopes monkey trial and the teaching of evolution in schools. It's beautifully made, directed and produced by Stanley Kramer, who did a lot of very didactic movies in the 50s and 60s, but always interesting ones. Spencer Tracy is really good, Frederick March is really good, Gene Kelly is really good. It's also got Dick York from Bewitched in it, Harry Morgan, Claude Akins, Noah Beery Jr. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one as well. I like a good courtroom drama, and Inherit the Wind is definitely that. And we're down to the last one, which stars a guy who shares the same birthday as me, which is always one of those weird things that we associate and think well of somebody because of it. It's from the late 1950s, 1956, and it's Picnic with Kim Novak and William Holden, who shares the same birthday as me, Susan Strasberg, Cliff Robertson, Rosalind Russell. I'm looking forward to this one. It's directed by Joshua Logan, who also directed, I think, Paint Your Wagon, if I'm right. I'll put down here whether I'm right. And I'm looking forward to that one as well. Really great soundtrack. The score is fantastic. Based on a play by William Inge. Yeah, I am looking forward to this one because it was very successful at the time and has a lot to do with sex and sexuality and a hot summer picnic. I like it for that reason. So I promised you a magic trick, and I'm going to fulfill the magic trick. And it's a magic trick that shows the importance of physical media. Now, I picked up this book in Seattle in 1998. It's Penn and Teller's Cruel Tricks for Dear Friends, which is really, really cool. And the thing is, this book is also a magic trick. It's very hard to read the book. Have a look at that. That is the text of the book. It's really hard to read it, but if you know the trick, it's not that hard to read. If you don't know the trick, it's hard to read. The book is a magic trick, and I love the fact that it is. And I picked it up in a secondhand bookshop in Seattle in 1998, and I thought, what the hell is this? Until the guy who owned the bookshop showed me how to do the trick. So that's it for this time around. Thank you very much for persisting through the long haul video. Look after yourselves, stay safe. Don't doom scroll the way I have been for the last 3 million years. Wear a mask, take care of yourselves, watch some good movies, watch some bad movies, buy some physical media. I think that's the important thing, because a lot of people are finding out that things aren't staying on streaming services, and they're getting a little cheesed off that they suddenly drop off those streaming services. So anyway, I will catch you next time with something entirely different. Tell me which movies you'd like me to do a fuller review of from the haul. Happy to do it. I'm happy to kind of spend 5 or 10 minutes talking about movies individually. So that's about it. I've got other things to do today. So as I said, look after yourselves, wear a mask, and I'll catch you next time.